Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So today is going to be a very fun episode. So as we are nearing the 1 year mark on this Red Sea S-1000, I want to go ahead and do a 1 year deep clean of the entire tank. Obviously, 1 year is not that long, but it is a good amount of time to get a lot of detritus all over, the insides and display tank. And I think it'd be a great time to do a good cleaning as my sand is starting to turn a little bit brown on top, so we can go ahead and remove those excess nutrients. So what we are going to go ahead and do first is feed the tank, because I will be doing a water change, so might as well get it out of the way. Feed all my beautiful coral in the tank. Get them nice and fat, and then the water change after, so we don't have to deal with the nutrient spike. But welcome to the 1 year episode of Cleaning My Reef Tank, so come along for the ride. So it's actually been quite a while since I've fed anything to my tank in the form of like coral food, like these reefroids. And the reason being is that obviously when you have foods that are super nutrient dense, such as reefroids, it really does spike your nitrates, phosphates, whatever up. So I tend not to do them. When I do them, it's going to be what we're basically doing now, which is during a water change. So what I've been doing is, going ahead and feeding each individual coral with all the pumps off, the return pumps off, basically everything off except for the lights. We'll go ahead and feed them and basically wait about 10 to 15 minutes or so. Just to kind of give the coral a chance to feed, especially, some of these soft corals, which I feel like do really well when you feed them more or less anything. The sticks, not so much. As you can see, even though I am feeding them, I'm just doing it because I can, because, they do have polyps, but I personally haven't seen much in the way of growth that can correlate directly to feeding itself. But either way, even if they take just a small percentage of it, every little percent helps. So we went ahead and fed everything, and we're going to go ahead and let it just kind of sit for about 5-10 minutes, just to give the corals a chance to feed. And for example, some coral like mushrooms do take a little bit of time to, actually digest their food. Because they do have to move those particles slowly into their mouths. And after about the 10 or 15 minutes, usually what I do is I don't turn on the return pump at that point, but I will go ahead and turn on the circulation or like the wave pumps in the tank itself. So for example, I do have the 3 reef waves currently in the tank. So we go ahead and turn those on and just kind of let them circulate whatever we have remaining, of the reefroids in the tank. And maybe, some of the other corals that I didn't either feed directly, or for example, some of the soft corals might be able to catch some of the particles that it missed and, feed itself. So we just go ahead and let it sit for a little bit. And with the entire point of this 1 year cleaning update for the tank, the whole obvious main point is just to get everything cleaned up. So over the last year, certain things get a little scummy. They get a little salt creep. Obviously, we do have day jobs, for most of us do at least. So, being able to always keep a tank pristine is not exactly the easiest thing. So obviously the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is take the screens outside, which have, had a little bit of salt accumulation, and we've gone ahead and just made sure, they're nice and clean. ready for a fully refreshed tank. As we get back to the main display tank, we're going to go ahead and bring out the Python vacuum. So for this 1 year update, we're going to go ahead and vacuum the Sandbed. Now, I generally don't recommend it for newer tanks because there kind of isn't a point. When you have a new tank, you probably want to save as much bacteria as you can. I do personally believe that a tank that is too clean is not good. Even for human beings, being in a sterile environment is not always great. You do want a little bit of bacteria, a little dirtiness, just to make sure that the corals are happy and there's kind of a balance, that you might see in an actual coral reef. My father used to say that it's okay for a hot dog to hit the ground once and still eat it. A little bacteria, a little dirt never hurt anyone, as long as obviously it wasn't super dirty. And I do feel like that kind of reflects for an actual reef tank as well. Now, my thought process behind vacuuming for a reef tank is fairly simple. In the 1 year, a lot of detritus has accumulated in the sand, which will obviously spike nutrients. And, it's something we generally don't touch. We just kind of let it settle in the sandbed. Now, some people might think by vacuuming, for example, the sandbed, you may be taking out vital nutrients. You'll be starving the tank. But I think of it as another reason to feed even more. So with, for example, the nutrients out of the sandbed, I can feed, more generously to my tank without having to worry about too much, which to me is a great plus. So I do think vacuuming a sandbed does have its place in the hobby as long as it's not too frequent. So I have yet to do a sandbed cleaning like you guys see here. This will be the first one for this tank, and as you can see, it was quite dirty, which I'm super happy we've been able to remove it out of the tank. And another plus that you do kind of get out of this is your sandbed, because you have churned it a little bit. It'll be nice and super white. What I generally don't recommend people doing is just blowing on their sandbed and releasing, all that brown crud into the water column. That route I generally don't prefer. I do prefer this vacuuming type where you're basically just sucking everything in, and that way you don't really have any problems. Now, of course, we're going to also clean the equipment we have down in the sump. We'll go ahead and clean the skimmer, which I haven't done in a little bit, so it was a little bit dirty, not too bad. Luckily, it came pretty easily off. Usually I have to do a little bit of scrubbing, which I hate because it is kind of slimy and goopy, so it's a little, ugh. But yeah, luckily, I haven't left it on that long, so it was really easy to come off with just the spray function on the faucet, which is perfect. And then I did also go ahead and clean my calc reactor, but kind of during the process, it was super difficult to film while also taking it apart, just because how large and clunky it is. And of course, it's, completely filled with saturated calc wasser. So it was a little bit difficult to take out. So we won't show that part, but I did take that one out and also clean it as well. kind of the last part of the night since we've pretty much finished everything else. The sandbed, the skimmer, scraping the glass. It's a little fuzzy right now, but that's okay. But one of the last things is I was having a little bit of a hair algae problem in my little mushroom box right here. So what I've gone ahead is removed it and put it into the main display. And luckily my little tank right here, this little sail fin you see, actually really loves hair algae. So we're gonna leave this guy here for a few days and he is going to just completely demolish all this little algae that you see. This rock you can see right here was completely filled with algae a couple days ago. It's cleaning it off absolutely completely. So yeah, we're just gonna let him, do his thing. You can see him kind of just pecking away at it. It'll probably take him just a day or two to do the entire mushroom basket. But that is more or less it for today's episode. Everything looks nice, spick and spam and clean. And in the next episode, we'll go ahead and do the 1-year update of my 265-gallon Red Sea tank. But thanks again for always watching, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.